So, Hare Krishna everyone. I welcome you all to our weekly Bhagavatam class. Very grateful that all of you have joined today. So, thank you all very much. Today we are reading from second Canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 15. Sorry, Canto 2, chapter 7. We'll be reading from Sloka 33 and onwards. So, Manjunath Prabhu, would you like to read it? Sloka 33?
Yeah. Hare Krishna, everybody. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna, uncle.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Text 33, translation. For those who are wandering in the material universe, there is no more auspicious means of deliverance than what is aimed at direct divine service of Lord Krishna. Purport. As will be clarified in the next verse, devotional service and direct bhakti yoga is the only absolute auspicious means of deliverance.
I'm sorry to disturb Prabhu. Prabhuji, I think we have Sloka 33.
Yeah, 33 you're taking text.
Which chapter?
Canto 2, chapter 7.
Canto 2,
Chapter
chapter 7, Sloka 33.
Oh, sorry. Oh, yes.
33. We did 31, I think, last time, isn't it?
But we finished 31 and 32, and 33 we are continuing.
Okay.
Text 33, translation. When the Lord was engaged in his pastime of rasa dance in the forest of Vrindavana, enlivening the sexual desires of the wives of the inhabitants of Vrindavana by sweet and melodious songs, a demon of the name Shankakuda, a rich follower of the treasurer of heaven, Kuvera, kidnapped the damsels, and the Lord severed his head from his trunk. Purport. We should carefully note that the statement described herein are the statements of Brahmaji to Narada, and he was speaking to Narada of events that would happen in the future during the advent of Lord Krishna. The pastimes of the Lord are known to the experts who are able to see past, present, and future. And Brahmaji, being one of them, foretold what would happen in the future. The killing of Sankachuda by the Lord is more recent incident after the Rasa Leela and not exactly a simultaneous affair. In the previous verses, we have seen also that the Lord's engagement in the affairs of the forest fire was described along with his pastimes of punishing in the Kaliya snake, and similarly the pastimes of Rasa dance and the killing of Sankachuda are also described herein. The judgment is that all these incidences would take place in the future, and after the time when he was being foretold Brahmaji to Narada, the demon Sankachuda was killed by Lord during his pastimes at Horika in the month of Falguna. And the same ceremony is still observed in India by the burning effigy of Sankachuda one day prior to Lord's pastime at the Horika, generally known as Holi. Generally, the future appearance of the activities of the Lord or his incarnation are foretold in the scriptures, and thus the pseudo-incarnations are unable to cheat persons who are in knowledge of the events as they are described in the authoritative scriptures. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Thank you. Translation again. The Lord was engaged in his pastimes of rasa dance in the forest of Vrindavan, enlivening the sexual desires of the wives of the inhabitants of Vrindavan by sweet and melodious songs. A demon of name Shankachuda, a rich follower of the treasurer of heaven, Kuvera, kidnapped the damsels, and the Lord severed his head from his trunk. Hare Krishna. So Lord Brahma, he is continuing his remembrance of Sri Krishna. Earlier he remembered, so many other incarnations, Lord Ram, Lord Parshuram, and so forth and so on. And now he really goes into a trance. He's remembering so many wonderful pastimes of Krishna. And here Prabhupada, he makes a very important point here, that actually what Lord Brahmaji is remembering actually has not happened. It is going to happen. Because Lord Narada Muni, he asked Brahmaji that who is the Supreme? I thought you are the Supreme, but looks like there is somebody else Supreme. Please tell me, who exactly is the Supreme? Then Lord Brahma, says, I am not the Supreme. My Supreme Lord Krishna is Supreme. And he appears in this world in many incarnations. And then he goes on to describing all the incarnations. And then he comes to at this section where he's remembering Krishna's pastimes. So these pastimes actually has not happened. But because Brahmaji is a very powerful living entity, he knows past, present, and future. So he can see what is going to happen in the future. So Prabhupada is saying, this whole what Brahmaji is talking about is going to happen. It is not happened yet. So here, one point to note is that there are many incarnation comes in the day of Brahma, but Krishna, the Lord himself as Krishna, he comes as himself only once in a day of Brahma. So Brahma ji, he has a very long duration of life. Very briefly, we have this one Kali Yuga, which is 432,000 years. And then before the Kali Yuga, it was Dwapar Yuga, which is double the size of Kali Yuga, which is 864,000. And then before that was Treta Yuga, which is 3 times the size of Kali Yuga. And before that was Satya Yuga, which is 4 times the size of Kali Yuga. So altogether 432,000 into 10. That is the one set of Yuga cycle. Satya Yuga, Treta, Dwapar, Kali Yuga. One set of yugas. In one day of Brahma, there is 1,000 set of such yuga. And each yuga, this cycle, they are divided. Sorry, all 1,000 cycles, they are divided equally amongst the 14 manus. So one manu is in charge of about 72 yuga cycle. So that one set is called Divya Yuga. So there are for 72 Divya Yugas in one day in the reign of one manu. So later on we'll understand that at place, Brahmaji gives, the Prabhupada will give the names of various manus, under which manu what pastime happened. So Krishna only comes once in a day of Brahma. And when Krishna comes, he is not the avatar. He is the avatari. The other incarnations, they are avatar. But Krishna, he is avatari. He is not the incarnation. He comes as himself. He is the other incarnations, they are avatar. Narsimhadev, Parshuram, they are incarnations of Krishna. But Krishna himself comes only once in a day of Brahma. So Lord Brahma is remembering those pastime which is going to happen. And then there is very interesting shloka coming in next shloka about Lord Buddha. Very interesting shloka. We will come to that later on. So Prabhupada makes another point here. I'll just read this last paragraph. Generally, the future appearance and activities of the Lord or his incarnations are foretold in the scriptures, and thus the pseudo-incarnations are unable to cheat persons who are in knowledge of the events as they are described in the authoritative scriptures. So Prabhupada, he makes very clear that how we should understand that who is the incarnation. We cannot accept anybody as an incarnation of the Lord, as is the fashion. A tendency to accept anybody as the incarnation of the Lord, it is very much prevalent. It is not in Kali Yuga, even at the time of Krishna himself. These cheating incarnations, they are always there. Even at the time of Krishna, there was this one person. He was claiming himself to be Krishna himself as a Vishnu. So this tendency to pose oneself as incarnation or accept somebody, ordinary person as incarnation is very common. It is Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to say, where there are cheaters, there are cheated. If you have a tendency to cheat somebody else, somebody else will come and cheat you. So how do we protect ourselves of understanding that who is actually the incarnation and who is not the incarnation? The solution is in these scriptures. All the incarnations of the Lord, they are mentioned in the scriptures. If that incarnation is not mentioned in the scripture, if somebody says, I am the incarnation, the Lord says, please tell me, where is your appearance as mentioned in the scripture? Please give some reference. If he cannot give, then he cannot be accepted as incarnation. So here, so Lord Brahmaji is foretelling to Narad Muni, these are the incarnations which is going to happen in this world. So in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the various Puranas, all the incarnations are mentioned. Even we know that the 10th incarnation in the Kali Yuga is going to come. Now next is going to come is Kaliki. Now his reference is there, where he is going to appear. There's a place called Shangri-La where he is going to appear. There'll be mothers and fathers, and everything is foretold. And in the scriptures, in Bhavishya Purana and few others, so many other things are mentioned. The appearance of Chanakya Pandit, the various religions will take place. And in the next few shlokas, Lord Brahma is going to describe what will be the position of Kali Yuga. You'll be really shocked to see, how accurately Brahma is telling what is going to happen in Kali Yuga. So these shlokas, they are compiled. They were written by Vyasdev about 5,000 years ago, but they were told by Brahma to Narada Muni millions of years back. Still, these shlokas are, it is so accurately he said, this is going to happen in Kali Yuga. One thing, which we can all learn from our satsang here is that the benefit that the scriptures give us in our life is that it gives the complete clarity how one should understand spiritual life, how they should be not cheated by the so-called imitation incarnations. When we have the proper knowledge, then we can take decisions. Otherwise, without the knowledge, there are so many cheaters around the world. They cheat, nowadays in Kali Yuga, so many saints and babas and cheaters, they are there. But when we take the shelter of scriptures, then we are immune. Like from the corona, we need vaccination. So the scriptures, they work as a vaccination. That we are not cheated by the so-called imitation gurus and sadhus and incarnations. So we'll move on. Next shloka, shloka 34 and 35. If anybody would like to read shloka 34 and 35 together. These are the combined shlokas.
I'll do it, Rohitji.
Yes, Ajit.
Shloka 34-35. Translation. All demonic personalities like Pralambha, Dhenuka, Baka, Keshi, Arishta, Chanura, Mastika, Kuvalayapida, elephant, Kamsa, Yavana, Naragasura, and Paundraga, great marshals like Shalva, Divida monkey, and Balavala, Dantavakra the seven bulls, Shambara, Vidurta, and Rukmi, as also great warriors like Kamboja, Malsya, Kuru, Srinjaya, and Kekeya would all fight vigorously either with the Lord Hari directly or with him under his names of Baladeva, Arjuna, Bhima, etc. And the demons thus being killed would attain either the impersonal Brahmajyoti or his personal abode in Vaikuntha planets. Purport. All manifestations in both the material and spiritual worlds are demonstrations of the different potencies of Lord Krishna. The personality of Godhead Baladeva is his immediate personal expansion, and Bhima, Arjuna, etc. are his personal associates. The Lord would appear, and he does so whenever he appears, with all his associates and potencies. Therefore, the rebellious souls, like the demons and the demoniac men, mentioned by names like Pralambha, would be killed either by the Lord himself or by his associates. All these affairs will be clearly explained in the 10th canto, but we should know well that all the above mentioned living entities killed would attain salvation either by being merged in the Brahmajyoti of the Lord or being allowed to enter into the abodes of the Lord called Vaikunthas. This has already been explained by Bhishma Deva, first canto. All persons who participated in the battlefield of Kurukshetra or otherwise with the Lord or with Baladeva would benefit by attaining spiritual existence according to the situation of their minds at the time of the death. Those who recognized the Lord would enter Vaikuntha, and those who estimated the Lord as only a powerful being would attain salvation by merging into the spiritual existence of the impersonal Brahmajyoti of the Lord. But every one of them would get release from material existence. Since such is the benefit of those who played with the Lord inimically, one can imagine what would be the position of those who devoutly serve the Lord in transcendental relation with him. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Thank you. So here in this shloka, Lord Brahmaji is, remembering so many other pastimes in just one shloka, not two shlokas. Hmm? Uh, Earlier he mentioned the activities of Krishna with the gopis, and now he's remembering that when he'll be there, when he'll come into the material earth, then how many demons he will kill. So he's just mentioning, just a few numbers of, what are the various, demons he will kill. Because one of the reason Lord comes is that Vinashcha Dushkrita, when there is some discrepancy in the world administrations, and Lord comes and rectifies. So those who are miscreants, those who are disturbing factors, Lord comes and he removes them. And he removes them either by himself or by Balram, or he empowers some of his devotees like Bhima, Arjuna, and so forth and so on. So here, let's read the translation again. Lord Brahmaji is saying, all demoniac personalities like Pralamba, Dhenuka, Baka, Keshi, Arishta, Chanura, Mustika, Kubalyapida elephant, Kamsa, Yavana, Narakasura, and Pundraka, great marshals like Shalva, Vivida, monkey, and Balwala, Dantavakra, the seven bulls, Sambara, Viduratha, and Rukmi, as also great warriors like Kamboja, Matsya, Kuru, Sanjaya, and Kekeya, would all fight vigorously, either with the Lord Hari directly or with him under his names of Baladeva, Arjuna, Bhima, etc. And the demons thus being killed would attain either the impersonal Brahmajyoti or his personal abode in the Vaikuntha planets. So Lord Brahma is remembering that all these various, powerful people, demons who are disturbing factor in the society, they'll be removed or they'll be neutralized by the Lord when he comes. And the list is actually quite long. Lord Brahma is just mentioning, just tip of the iceberg. Krishna killed so many when he was here. And at the end, Lord Brahma is saying, and the demons thus being killed would attain either the impersonal Brahmajyoti or his personal abode in the Vaikuntha planets. My dear friends, this is, very, important point that we have to understand here. Generally, we think that, when this such kind of shlokas comes, we think Lord is partial. That is very, favorable to his devotee, but it is very cruel to the demons. But here we see the Lord actually is impartial. He is equal to everyone. So here Brahmaji is remembering that when these people are killed by the Lord or by his devotees, they will attain salvation. They'll attain liberation. And he mentions here, two kinds of liberation. Either they'll go to the Vaikuntha Loka, or they'll attain a Brahmajyoti. Brahmajyoti is the spiritual effulgence coming out of the body of Krishna. So anybody who is killed by the Lord, or in the presence of the Lord, all the soldiers which are killed in the battle of Kurukshetra, they all attain liberation. Everyone. Why? Because Krishna is present there. Krishna is all auspicious. So when anybody lives his body in the presence of Krishna, he attains liberation. But what kind of liberation? Here Lord Brahma says either they merge in the Brahmajyoti or they go to the Vaikuntha Loka. So as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, at the time of the death, whatever your consciousness is, that consciousness you will attain in the next life. So when they are leaving the body, when the soldiers are dying, or Krishna kills these demoniac people, when they understand Krishna as a supreme personality of Godhead, in that consciousness, if they leave their body, they'll go to Vaikuntha Loka. And those who just consider Krishna as somebody who is a powerful enemy or is a powerful person, but at least then they recognize the power of Krishna. Even just recognizing Krishna as somebody is powerful, more powerful than me, just understanding that much, even that much is good enough to get the liberation from the cycle of birth and death. And these people, they get liberation into Brahmajyoti. Now Brahmajyoti, it is the effulgence which is coming out of the body of the Lord. So when these people, when they merge into the Brahmajyoti, they come out of this material world, no longer in the material world. They enter into the spiritual sky. And in that sky, there are various planets are there. And these planets are called Vaikuntha Loka, where the Lord resides there. The various incarnation of the Lord resides there. And the devotees, they reside with the Lord himself, and they serve personal service to the Lord. So there are 5 kinds of liberation. So the 4 kinds are there on the Vaikuntha planets. The 5th kind, which is called Sayujya, which is the merging into the impersonal Brahmajyoti of the Lord. So they don't enter into the Vaikuntha planet, but they stay in the Brahman effulgence or the Brahmajyoti, and they just stay there. But they are out of the cycle of birth and death. So they are liberated, but they are not entering into the Vaikuntha planet. So all the demons which are killed by Krishna, they attain the impersonal Brahmajyoti or Vaikuntha, depending on their consciousness. So it's at some point, maybe we'll discuss in detail this Brahmajyoti liberation. For a devotee, this Brahmajyoti liberation, it is worse than hell. Why? Because there is no service to Krishna. You just stay there in Brahmajyoti. There is no pain. There is no anxiety. We are in Brahmajyoti, you are just there is no birth, old age, disease and death. There is no pain. You are liberated. There is no pain. There is no anxiety. There is no uncomfortable living condition. But you can't serve the Lord. And if there is no service to the Lord, for a devotee, that is worse than hell. So the devotees always, they aspire for the Lord. I don't care whether you put me into heaven or hell or liberation or wherever you want me to put into. But what I want is that I want to be always engaged in the service, in your service or in the service of the devotee of yours. That is their desire. So earlier, if you remember Lord Brahma, when we, in our Krishna Darshan program, when Lord Brahma, when he realized that he committed an offense by stealing the friends of Krishna and the calves, then he asked for the forgiveness. And what did he in the forgiveness? He says, my Lord, Please forgive me. And my desire is now that I want to be a small blade of grass outside Vrindavan. So when the gopis come, they can put their feet on my head. And I just want to serve you, my Lord. So this is the devotee's desire. They don't care for the liberation. What they want is the service. So when the devotees, when they get liberation, they want to always be engaged in the service of Krishna. So in the Vaikuntha planet, when the living entities get liberation there, there are, four other kinds, the Sarupya. Sarupya liberation means you get the same form as the Lord. In the Vaikuntha planets, the Lord has, Vishnu form, like Vishnu-like form, with the four hands. So those who get the Sarupya form, they have the same body features as the Lord. They are identical, except the difference is that Lord has this Srivatsa, the Lakshmi Ji's mark on his chest. The others don't have. Only Lord has that. So if by chance somebody enters into the Vaikuntha Loka by mistake or something, then you will see so many Lord forms are there with the four hands. You'll get confused that who is the Lord, because everybody has the four hands. But the Lord is so kind that he awards this his own personal form to his devotee. So Sarupya, then there is another liberation where you get the same opulence as the Lord. Like in our in our own Kali Yuga mentality, same bank balance as the Lord. Whatever money or the opulence Lord has, you have the same opulence. You are the joint account holder. Same opulence as the Lord. Then there is a Samipya. There you are a very personal servant of the Lord, very close to the Lord. Sarupya, Samupya, Sayujya. And the fifth one, sorry, I lost my chain of thoughts. There's another fifth one. But anyway, these are the different kinds of liberation that one can get. So devotee, they says, my Lord, you can give me any liberation you want, but not the Sayujya, not the merging into the impersonal Brahmajyoti. That is the worse than going to the hell. And maybe we can just touch one point is that all these Mayavadis, they aspire for this impersonal Brahmajyoti liberation. So the devotee says, this liberation is so undesirable that even the demons, the demons get it. And the Mayavadis, because they do not have tendency to serve the Lord, they get this, impersonal Brahmajyoti liberation. So I'll just read a couple of lines from the last part of this purport of Prabhupada. Prabhupada says, since such is the benefit of those who played with the Lord inimically, one can imagine what would be the position of those who devotedly served the Lord in transcendental relationship with Him. So Prabhupada writes that the Lord gives liberation even to those who are inimical to Him. But for some reason, they happen to leave their body in the presence of the Lord. Lord gives them the liberation. Then it says, what to speak of the devotees who are so favorably serving the Lord? What would be their destination? You can't even imagine. The highest thing that which is considered in this world, impersonal liberation, it is even given to the enemy of the Lord. Then what to speak of the devotees who are very faithfully, lovingly serving the lotus feet of the Lord, and more importantly, the devotees of the Lord. The Lord is so merciful to them. So this is about Sloka 34-35, and let's go to 36 now. Somebody can read Sloka 36 now, translation and purport, please. Okay, if nobody is there, I'll read it myself.
Shall I read, Rohit?
Yes, Mataji, if you don't mind, yeah. Can you read it?
Translation. The Lord Himself is in His incarnation as the son of Satyavati Vyasadeva will consider his compilation of the Vedic literature to be very difficult for the less intelligent persons with short life. And thus he will divide the tree of Vedic knowledge into different branches according to the circumstances of the particular age. Purport. Herein, Brahma mentions the future compilation of Srimad Bhagavatam for the short lived persons of the Kali age. As explained in the first canto, the less intelligent persons of the age of Kali would not would be not only short-lived but also perplexed with so many problems of life due to the awkward situation of the godless human society. Advancement of material comforts of the body is activity in the mode of ignorance according to the laws of material nature. Real advancement of knowledge means progress of knowledge in self realization. But in the age of Kali, the less intelligent men mistakenly consider the short lifetime of 100 years, now factually reduced to about 40 or 60 years, to be in all to be all in all. They are less intelligent because they have no information of the eternity of life. They identify with the temporary material body existing for 40 years and consider it the only basic principle of life. Such persons are described as equal to the asses and bulls. But the Lord, as the compassionate Father of all living beings, imparts unto them the vast Vedic knowledge in short treatises like the Bhagavad Gita, and for the graduates, the Srimad Bhagavatam. The Puranas and the Mahabharata are also similarly made by Vyasadeva for the different types of men in the mode of material nature, but none of them are independent of the Vedic principles. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Mataji. Thank you. Thank you. Shloka 36 again. Translation. The Lord Himself, in His incarnation as the son of Satyavati, Vyasdev, will consider his compilation of the Vedic literature to be very difficult for the less intelligent persons with short life, and thus he will divide the tree of Vedic knowledge into different branches according to the circumstances of the particular age. So here Lord Brahma is remembering the Lord's another wonderful activity. Here we see the Lord's the mercy to the living entities of this world. So in Kali Yuga is the age of quarrel and hypocrisy. Manda sumatayor, manda sumanda matayor, manda bhagya. We are always disturbed, always perplexed, and on top of that, always unlucky. This Kali Yuga is a horrible age. People are just living a life like animalistic life, eating, sleeping, mating, defending. No uh, uh, inclination towards understanding who am I, who is God, what is my relationship with God, what is the purpose of my life. No such inclinations. Just simply eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, sense gratification. That's all in all. People, many places, people say, life, you get life once, just enjoy. Who says, what happens after the death? Just animalistic life. Uh, and Lord would know that this will be the mentality of the people of the age of Kali. Uh, and out of all these people who are part of in the age of Kali, some will say, okay, let me try to understand what is the spiritual life. But when they come to understand Vedas, says, oh, this is so difficult. First of all, people are less educated, less intelligent. They'll find the Vedas to be very difficult to understand. So the Lord knew that this is going to happen. So he empowered Vyasdev. Vyasdev is the literary incarnation of the Lord. So the Vyasdev's mother was Satyavati. So it says, the son of Satyavati, Vyasdev, he compiled the whole Vedas into the three section, in the one Veda into the four Vedas, and then he wrote, so many supplementary commentaries. And on top of that, at the peak of his, maturity, and in direct instructions by Narad Muni, he compiled Srimad Bhagavatam. So the people in this age of Kali, they can take the benefit of Srimad Bhagavatam. So age of Kali is very horrible. We have hardly anybody lives for 100 years. And Prabhupada, while writing this purport, he says, 40 or 60, if this much, how much you live, you're very lucky. And we are always perplexed on the problems of family problems, finance problems, house problems, national problems, the bodily problems. So many problems are there. We are always in anxiety. And when we ask, you would ask people, please spend some time, in your spiritual, feeding your soul. No time, no time. We are so busy. Busy for what? They also don't know why they are busy for. They're busy for. Always in anxiety. Always in perplexed. They do not know what is what is what. Always either being cheated, they are cheating somebody else. And senses are so much uncontrolled. They just go to the side where the senses they'll take them to, and they'll become so foolish in their in choosing the standard of life that they will live. It just make me to think that I don't know any of you heard something coming in the future called metaverse. Those who know about this, such a foolish thing, which will be all part of. Everything will be virtual. And we'll be forced to live a life like that. So the horrible times are coming. But unless there is one good thing, that if we take this shelter of Srimad Bhagavatam and be the association of devotees, then all these troubles we can easily negotiate. But otherwise, as it is said, as Kaliga progresses, the life is going to become more and more difficult. You can just see, the life 100 years back, our ancestors, maybe they didn't have that much wealth, but they didn't need that wealth. People nowadays think, more wealth equal to more happiness, but that is not true. The happiness has got nothing to do with the wealth. But they had, this knowledge, of how to live a Krishna conscious life, keeping Krishna in the center, and they are very much happy, more 100 times more than happy than us. But as we progress into this Kali Yuga, in the name of advancement of civilization, material advancement, more technology, more facilities, but it is taking us away from the real purpose of life, which is to go back to Godhead, understand who am I, who is God, what is my relationship with God. This current civilization is taking the population away from this. And in the next few shlokas, we'll see, what Brahmaji has predicted, how it is coming true into our life. So let's move on. We'll go on shloka 37 now. So anybody would like to read shloka 37? Anyone for 37 shloka?
I haven't got the book, probably, or else I'd read. I've not got the book.
Okay. Project, let me start. I'll can put it online. You can read it from online. Just a second. Give me a second. Okay, I'll share it now so you can look.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Just a second, I'll just. Hopefully, it is better visible now. Yeah. Go on, Prabhuji.
Okay. Translation. When the atheist, after being well versed in the Vedic scientific knowledge, annihilate inhibitions of different planets flying unseen in the sky on well-built rockets prepared by the great scientist Maya. The Lord will bewilder their minds by dressing himself attractively as Buddha and will preach on sub-religious principles. Purport. The incarnation of Lord Buddha is not the same Buddha incarnation we have in the present history of mankind. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, the Buddha incarnation mentioned in this verse appeared in a different Kali age. In the duration of life of one Manu, there are more than 72 Kali Yugas, and in one of them, the particular type of Buddha mentioned here would appear. Lord Buddha incarnates at a time when the people are most materialistic and preaches common sense religious principles. Such ahimsa is not a religious principle itself, but it is an important quality for persons who are actually religious. It is a common sense religion because one is advised to do no harm to any other animal or living being because such harmful actions are equally harmful to he who does the harm. But before learning these principles of non-violence, one has to learn two other principles, namely to be humble and to be prideless. Unless one is humble, the prideless, one cannot be harmless and non-violent. And after being non-violent, one has to learn tolerance and simplicity of living. One must offer respect to the great religious preachers and spiritual leaders, and also train the senses for controlled action, learning to be unattached to family and home, and enacting devotional service to the Lord, etc. At the ultimate stage, one has to accept the Lord and become his devotee. Otherwise, there is no religion. In religious principles, there must be God in the center. Otherwise, simple moral instructions are merely sub-religious principles, generally known as upadama, or nearness to religious principles.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Thank you very much, Antari Prabhu. That's very
Haribo.
kind of you.
Hare
Very kind.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Translation again. When the atheist, after being well versed in the Vedic scientific knowledge, annihilate inhabitants of the different planets, flying unseen in the sky on well-built rockets prepared by the great scientist Maya, the Lord will bewilder their minds by dressing himself attractively as Buddha and will preach on sub-religious principles. Uh, so here Lord Brahma is talking about Lord Buddha. And it is very natural that somebody who reads this shloka right now at this stage, we think, oh, when Buddha came in this earth, nothing happened like this, people flying in the sky without being seen. What is this about? So Prabhupada clarifies in the purport that, they, in the day of Brahma, there are so many Kalyugas, at least 1000 Kalyugas are there. And in each Kalyuga, Lord Buddha comes. But in each Kalyuga, there are different conditions are there, and he delivers them differently. So Lord Buddha, he always comes when there is a discrepancy in religious principle, when the people, on the strength of the Vedic knowledge, they start preaching irreligious principles. Like in our on earth, like in our own Kali Yuga, when the Lord Buddha came here, the people were eating meat or slaughtering animals left, right, and center on the pretext of the reference from the Vedic scriptures. The people, the human brain, is very fertile. They can interpret anything into anything. So people were so irreligious that they were using the scripture to justify their irreligious activities. So Lord Buddha came and he propagated the principles of non-violence. So Prabhupada mentions in the purport, being a non-violent, it is not a very great thing. Any civilized person, the non-violence is their great quality. It is understood, it has to be, it is not explicitly, it has to be mentioned that if anybody calls himself a civilized person, he will not harm any living entity unnecessarily. So to be non-violent is not a very great thing. It is a common way of common attribute of a civilized person. Uh, it's like, here we see, all the civilized people, they wear clothes. Well, sometimes they think wearing less clothes is more civilized. Uh, but generally, having to wear clothes is called civilized. Uh, so to wear a clothes is not a very great thing, it just makes you civilized. So to be a vegetarian, it just makes you civilized. So here, I'll just read a couple of lines on the what Prabhupada mentions here. Just read it, just hear it very carefully. It is a common sense religion because one is advised to do no harm to any other animal or living being, because such harmful actions are equally harmful to he who does the harm. Now listen. But before learning these principles of non-violence, one has to learn two other principles, namely to be humble and to be prideless. Unless one is humble and prideless, one cannot be harmless and non-violent. See these two qualities, being humble and prideless. If you do not have these two qualities, naturally you will become violent. So if you put the whole equations other way around, uh, um, the whole this eating and harming the animals, it is coming from these two qualities, the opposite quality of humility, which is what? Arrogance. And pridelessness means pride. When you are arrogant and proud, naturally you start harming the other living entities. And you can see in this world, people, even scientifically it is proven, eating meat is not good for the body. It is not good for the environment. It is in any sense it is not good. People are still doing it. What is causing them to do? That arrogance, and pride. That, see, I am superior. What is your, the poor animals, the little chickens, who are powerless. You put them into these very horrible places, and then you cultivate them, and then you slaughter them and eat them. Poor cows and the pigs and all, they are helpless creatures. But people are arrogant, because no spiritual knowledge, no spiritual education. They become arrogant and proud. And then they feel so great, eating this flesh of these innocent animals. So unless you have a humility and pridelessness, people will become very violent. So Prabhupada says the being a non-violence is not a great it's not a very great achievement. It is the common civilized quality. And then see what Prabhupada says. And after being non-violent, one has to learn tolerance and simplicity of living. After being non-violent, then you have to cultivate on top of that these various other very high good qualities, which is the simplicity of living and tolerance. Tolerance means, generally, what is opposite of tolerance? People are nowadays very intolerant, little uncomfortable, and there is a revolt. But when you have your foundation is your spiritual life, the scriptures, you become tolerant, and you follow the simplicity of living. You become very, cooperative. You harm the environment. You do not harm the environment, because a simple living, high thinking. Otherwise, people will just keep on going, harming each other. One nation to the other nation, one family to the other family. Why? Because there is no foundation of spiritual life. So after being non-violent, one has to cultivate the quality of tolerance and simplicity. And then what happens? Once you are at that level, and then what happens? One must offer respect to the great religious preachers and spiritual leaders and also train the sense for controlled action, learning to be unattached to family and home, and enact devotional service to the Lord, etc. At the ultimate stage, one has to accept the Lord and become his devotee. Otherwise, there is no religion. In the religious principles, there must be God in this center. Otherwise, simple moral instructions are merely sub-religious principles, generally known as upadharma or nearness to religious principles. So, any moral quality without the Krishna in the center, here in the eyes of Shastra, it is called upadharma. Something seems very religious, but actually it is something near religious, but it is not so great religious principle. So being non-violent, being a vegetarian, is sort of license to saying that I'm a very religious person. Once you have cultivated those good qualities, we mentioned about these four, qualities one should cultivate as a devotee. No meat-eating, no illicit sex, no gambling, no intoxication. These four things just makes you a civilized person. And then from that point onwards, then you build your character. And ultimately engage yourself in the service of the Lord, and engage in the service of the humanity at large. So once, as Lord Chaitanya says, Bharata Bhumi de Janma Hoilo Jar, Janma Sarthak Kari Kar Par Upkar. Those who have received this knowledge of Vedic literature, first make your life successful and then make everybody else's life successful. So this is the way to make this world a better place. By taking shelter of the Lord and through the medium of the scriptures and his devotees. So my dear friends, we stop here. It's nearly 9:15. I wanted to do Sloka 38, but we do not have time for that one. In Sloka 38, Lord Brahmaji is talking about the political chaos that will happen in Kali Yuga. It is mentioned in Sloka 38. So we'll take that in the next Sunday. So that's time we stop here. If anybody has any questions or comments, you can please raise. I'll just stop the live broadcast.